Welcome to the Pear Genius Podcast, real talk, real life, and a little bit of genius. We're Alex and Kati, partners in life for over 30 years. On this podcast, we dive into honest and filtered discussions with incredible people sharing stories, insights, and lessons that help you think bigger, live bolder, and grow stronger. No fluff, no filters, just real conversations that challenge, inspire, and elevate. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius Podcast. We got some real talk, some radical personal growth, and we have the Heather Schmidt in the house. Such a uniquely awesome person.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we got to know you over the years, and we actually met you in person, not just virtually.
Right? That was a big deal.
Very big deal, especially at that time.
Right? Exactly.
For sure. So we are just a couple of regular human beings trying to figure out this world and what's going on here. And we're just having one conversation at a time. And I know that we're going to get so much gold from you on this episode. So if you could just give us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll just get right into it, that will be perfect. Just fill everybody on who you are at the core and what you would want people to know about you that they don't know.
I want to start by lowering the expectations on what people are going to get today. So don't want to overpromise at all. About me, the kids call me Crunchy. I'm a hippie at heart.
Nice.
Why does my mind go blank? You ask this question and I can usually just ramble, and now it's, I don't know. There's nothing about me.
That's the easy part. I'll take some of the stress off. What do you wish that people knew about you that you always kind of forget to tell them?
I'm really funny in my own way.
There you go.
I say I put the fun in funky.
Sweet.
Yep. I can see that.
Just make us laugh.
You know what's
I know
amazing?
I'm not for everyone. That's okay.
You're a realtor. Yeah.
I am, yes.
Right? Which is so cool. So you're funny, you're funky and crunchy and
Yeah, I'm
somewhat holistic.
somewhat, yeah. I love to talk about crystals and energy and all of the weird stuff. Hashtag normalize weird.
And that's where I actually wanted to start the podcast journey is Kati did the brand and the website for you. And we've never met anyone. I don't know if there is anyone like you. And you are a holistic realtor. And I just wanted you to explain to people what that is.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are a handful of people that use that term, that label. Actually, it's called a title. And everybody
you're
has
the
their
OG.
own, what's it?
I think you're the OG, though.
Oh, no. No, so this all came about because in 2017, I read an article that NAR published, National Association of Realtors, published about the holistic approach to real estate. That's me. I saw so much of myself in that article. I reached out to every single person, 5 people. Only one got back to me, and we're still friends to this day. She lives in Washington State. And for her, it's really different because Washington State, everyone's crunchy. She jokes that you can't go grocery shopping without meeting a doula. They have a very natural approach to life there, which is very different than in Chicago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I identified with the holistic approach and I adopted that title. And for me, it's really about trying to live a clean life, honoring our body, eliminating toxins, and also being really aware of the energy, A, that we bring into spaces, and B, that the spaces we're in hold by themselves. So for me, it's more about an energetic.
Yeah. Which is amazing. I mean, there are a lot of realtors out there, and I've done quite a few brands now for realtors, and I always think, what is your niche? What makes you different? What can I lean into to bring out graphics that will make people stop and say, that's different. That's interesting. How do I engage? So when you came to me and you said holistic, I did my research and I looked, and there was not a lot of other realtors doing it, and their brands were not really showing me what I wanted to see either. So yours definitely focuses on the energetics. So I love the idea of buying a house or walking into a house and having my realtor say, oof, what's this energy? Never mind, I can fix it.
Right. And for the people that think that's way out there and too woo-woo, I always say, Have you ever walked into a room and you could tell that they were fighting before you walked in? Or you knew something was going on that wasn't always happy?
Yeah.
Or you're even at a restaurant and you're
There's
like,
a
I
reason
don't
when
want to
in
be
haunted
here.
houses, you get this feeling in your gut that something's just weird and you
Right.
don't know what that is, but that's your intuition that
And
people
it doesn't
mostly neglect and ignore nowadays.
and it doesn't mean that it's a haunting or it's a spirit. It could just be our feelings leave a thumbprint on the space. Our interactions leave a thumbprint. So that's just every space has its own energy.
Right. And everybody out there, whether you're woo woo or not, or whatever you're calling yourself, you know that energy never dies. So if somebody moves out, that energy is still there, and someone didn't come in and do a clearing, or you're not going to do a clearing. Well, yeah, then you're going to walk into something.
And it's interesting when you see a foreclosed home is foreclosed on again. That energy holds and the history repeats.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting. So have you gone in and smudged out a foreclosed space?
Oh, I've smudged a bunch of spaces.
But on the foreclosure ones, and then do you maybe notice that it doesn't come up again?
I've never tracked it.
Maybe you should, because that would be really interesting.
Stats, my value prop. You will never go into foreclosure if I smudge your house.
Hey, see this white chalk bark outline of this body? We're gonna get
Pay
rid
no
of all
expense
this.
more.
We're gonna get you 50% off the house, and we're not gonna have any more murder.
Sweet.
Oh my God, that'd be so funny if that was part of your realtor kit. So you walk into the house before and you put the outline of the body there. I got there.
So what's involved in a smudging? All I'm picturing is like the smoke and the thing. But do you have anything else in your bag of tricks?
Yeah, I go to my altar and pick whatever crystals I'm drawn to pick. Each crystal has its own vibration and its own property. I just grab whatever is caught speaking to me. Do a little grid when I'm in the space with the crystals. Again, intuitively lay it out. That's just what I do. You can smudge a house without doing any of that. So if I'm going to go through the steps, the first step is to declutter. Because if you think of energy flowing through the house, and if there's a pile of stuff, energy gets stuck there. It can't move. It can't flow. So that's the first thing, is to declutter. The second part is clearing the energy. It gets stagnant and we want to loosen it. So instead of clearing, I want to say you want to loosen the energy. And you loosen it with noise, anything that makes a reverb. So you can clap, you can use a drum, you can use cymbals, singing bowl, anything that has any sort of reverb is just going to create that shift in the energy that loosens anything that's stuck. And after that is when I go through with the smudge, and that neutralizes everything. So it's kind of a wash and rinse.
Interesting.
And the most important thing with all of it is the intention. You always want to think about what you want more of. I want more happiness. I want more wealth and prosperity. You don't want to focus on what you're trying to clear out.
Yeah. I just had this funny vision of you putting on like a marching band outfit with these big cymbals and just like,
Would
What?
love that.
oh, the neighborhood just got a little bit feistier.
I played oboe in junior high, and you can't march with the oboe, so they gave me cymbals for marching band.
Oh, see? It's like,
Oh, yes. I've had them.
oh,
So you have experience.
Yes, I do.
I also like the gong. The gong is cool.
And
Like a
gongs
big
are
gong.
great.
Do you have any gongs?
Yes, just carry that with me.
Right.
I've been on. Yeah.
So these steps, do you do them by yourself beforehand, or do you do it with the people that are buying the home?
I love getting the family involved.
Awesome.
And because I want to empower people to be able to have control over their space. It's not just me. It's not like you have to come to me to do it. I'm happy to help you, but I'd rather teach you so that anytime it's feeling off, you can do it.
That's wild.
So, how long have you been,
Weird.
I guess, out of the closet and
Well, we like to say out of the broom closet. Out of the broom closet.
Good one.
Because so many people want to hide their weirdness.
You know, I get asked a lot. I don't know who else to talk to about this, but whether it be crystals or Reiki or any sort of energy work or hypnosis, anything that's not normal, there's a lot of people that are very curious and ashamed of it.
That's interesting. Of all the things to be ashamed of,
Right.
I guess it's, I wonder why. I wonder why that is. What's the phenomenon behind that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's very different than religion, right? Most people who are religious just come right out, Bible's leading, and they're not apologetic about it. And yet, those of us who are more on the spiritual woo-woo side, right? Sometimes we hold back a bit.
But I also think it's not mainstream. And some religions actually teach that it's anti-Christian or anti-Catholic. So there's a lot of stigma around it.
That's true.
Sure.
That's true.
That's a different episode where we take down the Catholic Church one by one.
I'll bring my husband along for that one.
It's pretty wild. Like, and I've talked about this a lot on my other podcasts about how, people that are following certain religions, they're not bad people. It's just like anything, just like government. It's these controllers that, steer the flock, steer the sheep in certain directions that they want them to go, whether they call it good or bad. But it's basically meant to divide us one way or another. And
Absolutely. And, I'm a Reiki master, and we talk a lot about having the Christ-like light and Christ-like energy and love. And a lot of people think that is so sacrilege. And it's the opposite. It's honoring and embracing everything he represented.
Right? I mean,
And
growing up as a
then,
Catholic, I didn't even know Christ. Like, they talk about Christ, and he's this big, scary figure hanging on a cross as a child. Like, I don't understand that. And it wasn't until I started to, I discarded the confinement of religion, and I was like, wait a minute, Christ is an energy. Now I know Christ. I understand Christ-like energy.
and if you look at Christ as a master healer, and only a small portion of his story has been told, it's pretty amazing. And then I go down the path of Mary Magdalene, and she was one of the phenomenal healers that was never given credit, and it's amazing, her work.
I always find it funny that there's how many thousand denominations of Christianity and everybody thinks they're right. So there's so much irony in all of this, and I've tried to bring it up to a lot of people. There's all these different religions in the world, and you're in different places in the world. Are a billion Muslims going to hell because they don't, follow the Bible? It's like there's more to this realm than just following one certain religion. There is a way that we have to go through this journey and figure things out before we leave.
Yeah, I didn't realize it growing up, but I was exposed to a lot of diversity. My dad was Jewish, my mom was Catholic. There's just a lot that happened in my family. So I grew up just embracing everyone. So I've never understood, I can see the division, but I've never embodied it because I grew up with such diversity.
That's amazing. And now you get to live this life where you're not divided within yourself either, which means that you are more flexible, right? It's just such a more beautiful and softer way to live.
Yeah, I spent many years, probably the first 15 years in real estate, maybe not quite that long, trying to put myself in a box that I didn't fit in. Insert joke here. Like I always talk about, like, I'm fat, so what? If that's the worst thing you can say about me, like that's the worst thing you can say about me, so be it. But I really spent so much time worried about what others thought and showing up how I thought they wanted me to be, and I wasn't being authentic, and it wound up being really weird. And if you were ever talking to somebody who's just talking out of their ass, you don't want to be around them. I didn't make connections. My business wasn't successful. Now that I'm just here, I'm the weird one. If you want a buttoned up agent, I'm happy to refer you. It's not me.
I'd personally rather have a normal person like you, a normal weirdo. That's
Right, because you're weird. But if you're buttoned up, or you're ultra, if you believe in the structure of the church, or if you are whatever it is, you want to golf and play tennis every day. That's not me either. So it's just, once I realized who I was, because I think I wasn't even being honest with how inauthentic I was. Once I realized that, it was really scary to try to be myself. And once I gave myself permission and fully, it's just, this is who I am, take it or leave it, life was easy.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I feel like I was cool being weird, and then I went to school and they beat the weird out of me. And then somewhere along the lines in my 30s, this isn't working for me. This being a chameleon and getting people to like me, but do they really like me? And I just had this moment in my 30s where I have to change, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to be weird to lose my friends, but I just can't go on like this anymore. I just have to be a little bit more authentic.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you say friends,
right?
and
Well, that's just it.
realizing how many, I used to surround myself with people where I just got to focus on their problems because I didn't want to look at myself and how I wasn't happy. And once I started to show up and be happy, I need to find new people. This circle isn't working for me anymore.
And we spend so much time trying to fix others before we fix ourselves because it's easier to fix everybody else.
It would be nice to be able to define what a friend is, because there are people who have so many friends and they thrive on all these relationships, whereas I struggle to have one. So is a friend somebody who is like the spouse, where it's that same level of love, or, or is a friend more a tool to get you through a certain period and it's okay to move on?
I think we have friends for a season. You're there for whatever season it is, and you may grow together, you may grow apart, but you're there when you need it. And some friends last longer than others. But to me, a friend is somebody who shows up, cares. If I need to talk, they listen, and absolutely has my back when I'm not in the room.
I would flip the mirror back at myself, and I would say a friend for me would be someone that I can be myself in front of.
I was just going to say the same damn thing. You took my...
Oh,
Well, yeah, I would say your best friend is somebody that you don't have to be pretending to be somebody you're not in front of. Warts and all.
and I'm realizing how much of an introvert I am. I'm quite happy not having contact with people, which makes it really hard in my business. But there's friends that it's been 3 or 4 months and I never responded to them. And the fact that they understand that, and it doesn't mean that I care for them any less. I'm different that way. So somebody who truly understands and accepts me the way I am.
Yeah.
I've kind of been that lately. I feel like this is the time of the year where it's cold and it's dark, and I really feel like not reaching out to anybody. And I feel guilty about that. But at the same time, I know that this is my season to recharge. But I'm still battling guilt.
I mean, we are talking to people quite regularly on the podcast, so we're not completely secluded, but we have definitely gone inward. There's less going out, less seeing friends. I mean, but it's cold as balls here today, so.
It's freezing.
Oh, cold.
It's minus 15 Fahrenheit, minus 25 Celsius.
We're a balmy 20 degrees today, Fahrenheit.
Man. And 2 weeks ago, we had like 55, 60. So we're not going to complain too loud. We've had a pretty good winter so far.
We have an ice storm coming in. There's actually ice warnings through the next 36 hours.
Oh, that's bad. I'd rather have snow than ice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I don't have to go anywhere, I don't care what it is.
Oh, man.
But no, I want to be safe.
Going back to real estate is now an interesting time for you, that like this year, this month, this season. What's going on in real estate that you've noticed in the Midwest?
So the stats just came out. We had the number of sales in 2024 in the United States hit an all-time low for like 30 years.
Oh Wow.
So there are less people moving. So there's just less business to be had. I don't worry about it because I've been doing this for 18 years and I've navigated so many shifting markets. I wasn't licensed 25 years ago or 30 years ago, but I was 18 years ago when the bubble burst. So it's a weird time. It's a different time, but the market's never the same. It's always changing. If you haven't experienced a changing market, you haven't been licensed long enough. So it's a changing market.
Okay. It's just like the weather.
Yeah.
Just always.
The way you talk to buyers, you have to adapt and shift. And the way you talk to sellers, you have to adapt and shift. And you may have to change the way you prospect for business and to generate some leads and change things up or double down on what's working for you.
Adaptability.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's also having the awareness of what's working and then what isn't working, change it up. If you double down on what's not working, you're not going to have much this year.
That seems to be my problem. I keep doubling down on things that aren't working. So I got to make some changes. So I'm like, how am I going to get this to be the biggest, wildest couples podcast that ever
I think that you have to do it naked, right?
That's on you. I'm on the other side of the screen. Then we're the one that has to deal with that. And we just give uppers, so it doesn't matter to me. We're not getting full frontal. That's a whole different type of show.
Oh man, this is gonna be the greasiest podcast ever. Turning to Canadian mud wrestling here.
Oh man, you've been so.
Oh, I'm gone.
So were you using TikTok previously?
No,
No.
I'm-
So it didn't.
I don't even have the app. No, I have this vision of having a TikTok channel. I don't want to put this out there because somebody else is going to do it. But I think I'm younger than I am. I think I'm hip, and then I'll be teaching a class and I'll reference kicks, and younger kids in the class are like, that's not what we call them. And all of my references are out of date, and I think I'm young and relatable, and I want to call it the tickety talk and be the grandma that thinks she's cool that really isn't.
No, we're cool still. It's these kids, they're not cool. Their slang, nah, it's mine.
I would have agreed with you before, but then we got a TikTok account and I'm trying to use it and my kids are like dying of embarrassment in the corner because I'm doing things all wrong and I'm not using the right words and, oh, you're not supposed to show yourself that way. I'm like, okay, I'm out. I deleted it.
Eventually, Gen X will win TikTok. We will win it. We're cool.
Well, ask the millennials about Facebook. We took over Facebook.
They don't even want to go on Facebook.
They have no interest.
No, because we're there.
Right?
They don't want mom and grandma to see what's going on.
I don't have interest anymore.
I'm surprised Snapchat's going strong. That was the one thing that I kind of abandoned, and that's probably why the kids went to it. It's because I abandoned it.
Yes.
This is kind of goofy. I didn't like Snapchat. But they're using it. So
something new.
I was going to ask you, Heather, how many grandkids do you have now? Just
2.
The one? 2 now.
2.
That's
Boy and a
fun.
girl, 8 and 4.
Oh, man.
That's sweet.
You're so young to be a grandma.
Right?
That's wild.
You don't.
No. That's where I think I'm younger than I am. And So thank you for that.
Oh, I do like your posts, though, when you're doing the stuff for them. I'm like, oh, man, just living the dream. I'm already getting ready for grandpa mode, even though my kids are only 13 and 16. But I'm like, man, I wish they were little kids again. I like the 5 to 8 or 4 to 10. That's probably my favorite range. If I could.
The 8-year-old, I'm starting to get the side hug. Like I used to be, he would melt into me with his hugs. And now I get a side hug enough.
He's already too cool. That's terrible.
He is. It's horrible.
Sad.
You're going to need to bribe him.
All he wants is his VR. He doesn't want anything else.
VR hugs.
VR grandma.
VR grandma. Rachel,
himself into an illusion.
Grandma, I'm hungry. Run into the kitchen. Oh man, kids are funny.
So you do real estate. What else do you do? Tell us more about like what's happening in your life.
We love to travel.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping you'd go there.
You know, what are our trips this year? We decided we're going to stay in the States and explore more of the where we live. So this year we identified 4 places, and now I already forgot them. Oh, New Orleans,
Oh, nice.
somewhere like Gatlinburg area, Eastern Tennessee. We're going to visit our oldest out in New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts. I'm going to get the state right one of these times. He used to live in New Hampshire, moved to Massachusetts, and then we'll be in the Carolinas. And so I have turned into a groupie for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And
Siberian Orchestra.
yeah, so we decided we're going to travel. We went in December to Orlando to see them. And so that's going to be our annual December trip, is we're going to pick a different city every year that we've never been to and go see TSO.
Oh, interesting.
Awesome.
So are they always touring?
They're always touring. There's actually 2 tours. There's the East and the West band. And yeah, they have 2 different companies, and they tour every November, December.
Wow.
Awesome. That is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the one trip that you took last year that I was super jealous of was the Alaskan cruise. I think that's got to be on our bucket list too.
Definitely.
Or I'd actually love to motorcycle up to Alaska too.
That cruise was perfect. The weather was unseasonably warm. The tour guide was wearing a t-shirt, and he made a comment that he only gets to wear a t-shirt 5 times out of the year. So it was just beautiful, warm weather. It rained 1 day out of 11 days. We didn't get, and I didn't realize that Alaska, a section of it is actually a rainforest. So when you're packing for an Alaskan cruise, they say to bring rain gear.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have it. We had sunshine and beautiful weather. We saw, we did a private yacht tour for whale watching. There were 8 of us on the yacht. It was a very small yacht, but we were right there, and the whales were just breaching all around us. It was just incredible. Everything about that trip was magical.
Oh, it sounds magical.
New Orleans will not be like that. Just a warning. Have you ever been there before?
No.
Okay. There's a reason why you get drunk in New Orleans. Like, most of it's not nice. And you go out and you leave the city and you're like, what is this crazy swamp? It's a crazy swamp. And it's wild. But I do actually really like New Orleans, and the food is incredible. It's probably some of the best food I've ever had. But
My
yeah.
roommate in college was a Cajun chef from a little tiny town in the swamp outside New Orleans.
Okay.
He was from down the bayou.
Nice. The food is crazy, and it's always hot there.
Is it? I wouldn't know because you went without me.
Yes. It was
Oh.
high. I went during the Super Bowl when there was a controversy that the Saints, anyway, the Rams got to the Super Bowl. The Patriots played the Rams. Patriots won. They actually boycotted the Super Bowl in New Orleans. They were not, no bars were showing it. I walked around New Orleans. I had to go back to my hotel room and finish watching the Super Bowl there because nobody was watching it.
Interesting.
That's a town.
That's bad luck for you to be like this American trapped in a Canadian body, to be down there during the Super Bowl.
Is that how you identify? Are you American trapped in a Canadian body?
I am an American trapped in a Canadian
That's
body.
how you identify.
Yes. So I was so hoping that we would become gay North Dakota and Trump would take us over and we could join. And it's so funny how many Canadians hate me for saying that, but half of it is the trolling and the laughter. I do enjoy that.
I know.
I do enjoy some good comedy. But yes, I digress. We all have these crazy Batman villains as political leaders. It's crazy what's going on. But
It's very challenging for me. Again, it's all about managing energy. And if I start to even engage in a conversation, and I'm very middle of the road, I align very strongly with some ideas on both sides.
Because you're in the
So if
middle.
I start having a conversation with one person, like very passionately, then I'm like, wait, what? You think what? Oh, okay, never mind. Let's just stop. Time out. So I try to just abstain from any conversation around it, and I can't control it. So what can I control? What can I focus on?
Yeah, that's exactly it for me too. I don't know what's going on at all. And the other day someone's like, "Oh, the taxes for Canada now with the US products." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I had no idea. And now I'm seeing these made in Canada stickers everywhere I go because they're trying to get us just to buy Canadian.
And I just saw that the whole tariff thing is done. Like, it's over now. It basically lasted one day, and they've just like nixed it. So it's
So,
totally an energy harvest. It's almost
so here's another thing I don't talk about a lot is I like to go down the rabbit holes, and I firmly believe that I don't know the truth. I don't know that any of us know the truth. And I think a lot of this is disruption. And let's get us focused on this shiny object here so we don't pay attention to any of the policy or changes that are being made.
yeah.
100%.
You're
Like
speaking my language.
there are people, the Canadians are getting so angry that Trump could take over Canada. I'm like, who cares? Do you think you getting mad about it is going to stop somebody from taking over Canada?
You have the right perspective, Heather. I say that the lies are very easy to point out. The truth is very difficult to find.
And it also makes it easy, since I don't know the truth, that when somebody has some off the wall theory, who am I to say that that's not true?
Right? That could be possible.
Right. And some realm that might actually be what's happening right now
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
multiverse.
When somebody comes at me with, this is the hard truth, I'm absolutely certain. I'm like, and you're stupid. You are not a trusted source.
I've had to humble myself over the last few years because I know in my 20s or 30s, whatever I believed was the absolute truth, and there was absolutely no way I was wrong. And wisdom has taught me that the more sure I am about something, the more chance I have of being completely wrong about it.
Yes.
So I try and stay loose and fluid.
I like that about you, actually. I like the softening. It's nice.
Well, that, like I said, that's just wisdom of getting older and realizing what kind of a numbskull you are in your 20s.
And what was important to me back then is not the same as what's important to me now.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah. My beliefs, whatever they were then, exactly not what they are now. And I'm very open to it could change tomorrow. Right? As I'm trying to align myself as much as I can with my own soul, it changes constantly.
If you could go anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go? And why would you go there?
Greek Isles.
Why would you go
I want-
only for the food?
I want weeks of living in some little villa or wherever and just living in the Greek Isles, like not as a tourist, just being.
Yeah.
So you would buy a house there?
Well, if I had the funds, I've never been there. I don't know. But in my mind, it's just, yeah. I would love to be in the Greek Isles.
Is there a plan to go visit the Greek Isles?
Yes.
Oh, that's
That's
So
helpful.
that or Paris. If I want like urban, and I went to Paris when I was 13 and I've always wanted to go back. I fell in love with Paris and I feel a deep connection there.
How come? What is it about Paris?
So if we talk about past lives and like there it is some version of me at some point was goddess Isis, an Egyptian goddess. And there's actually Mary Magdalene also has a tie to Isis, which also has a tie to Paris. And when Notre Dame caught fire, I felt it in my being. Like I wept. This is really weird. I've been there, but it wasn't just like I had this fond memory. It was like I have this spiritual connection to it. So I can't explain it other than I feel like it's embedded in me that I'm connected to Paris.
Yeah, I don't think that gets enough credit for the complete catastrophe that is, that it burnt, because there's no way they could pretend to rebuild it to what it
They
was.
can restore it, but it's not right. It's not the same.
No.
I feel like once there's a fire, they're actually burning up the energy that was so beautifully stored, not just in the walls, but in everything that was there. So it was devastating for sure.
It's
Yes.
yeah.
You know, I have that inexplicable tie to Ireland. I don't know why. And when we did our whole European thing, you would think Hungary would be that place because I speak Hungarian. That's where I'm from. But it wasn't. It was Ireland. I can't explain it. The feeling of the magic that's in Ireland. It's like I could very easily be there.
I have a friend that does like some shamanic healing and journeying, and he has this, I'm losing the word, an apprenticeship where you honor your heritage and your ancestors. There's the words. Apprenticeship that you honor your ancestors. And I'm like, what? Like, my dad's family was from Germany, and I don't feel that. My mom's dad was Dutch. I don't feel that connection, but I feel a connection to Paris and Egypt. And I've never been to Egypt.
That's wild.
I'm trying to think if I mean, the biggest pull I've ever had would probably be for Arizona. I can't
The
explain.
desert, yeah.
I can't explain why I love Arizona. And the last time we left it was heartbreaking. I did not want to leave. I wanted to stay there.
Where in Arizona?
And just in Phoenix.
Phoenix does nothing for me. I feel flat.
And I never
Like,
thought that I would love it, but I do. I don't know. I can't. It's one of those things that you can't explain why. I mean, I would probably, on paper, love Florida or the tropics more. I don't understand. I love the desert.
Chicago is very flat and boring. And we did the ride on the Alaskan cruise. We did the ride, the Yukon Trail. It's, I don't know, 4-6 hour train ride. Or you take a bus up and then you take the train down in the Yukon. And I keep taking pictures. My husband's like, how many pictures are you going to take? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't ever get tired of mountains and trees and lake. Like this just fills me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very cool to explore the Paris thing. It was fun. When we went to Paris, we took like a bullet train from Germany. And
Oh.
took us right into Paris. And we got off and we walked.
We had to walk because we didn't know what we were doing, and we knew we were staying on the south side. It was like a long ass walk with 2 little girls.
Yeah, it took about an hour, but we walked the city. We stopped at a cafe. We had food and drinks, and we got to. That was one of the neatest experiences of Paris, and I loved it. I thought Paris was so beautiful. I mean, obviously we weren't in the ghetto, but I mean, the city of Paris is.
It was lovely.
It's so. Yeah, it's so awesome.
I
Is it
was there
unlimited?
for
Maybe.
less than a month. So lived in a little suburban Suresnes. That was the little town.
Yeah, we were only
Yeah.
there for 3 or 4 days, but that was a very impactful trip for us.
Yeah, but then again, so was Chicago. Like you say, Chicago's boring, but to us, Chicago is the opposite.
Geographically, topography, it's just flat.
Yeah. It's like Winnipeg, where we're from, but way better.
Chicago or Illinois is super flat
It is.
because when we were driving there, I saw downtown Chicago, and we're driving. It's like 2 hours before I'm actually at it's almost like the Rocky Mountains here. Where we live, you can see the Rocky Mountains, but it takes almost an hour to drive there. It's because those skyscrapers are so huge. They're basically like mountains where you can see them so far in the distance. But once you're there, man, yeah, the city of Chicago, that's the ticket. It's fun.
I do like Chicago. It's got a great energy and great history.
Are you living in Chicago or you're in the suburbs?
Suburbs.
Okay. Right.
I don't think I
I'm
would
one
live
of
in
those people
Chicago.
that say I'm from Chicago. It's like blasphemy. Like, but when I'm talking to somebody not from the area, if I'm talking to somebody from the area, I would never claim Chicago because I don't live there in the city proper. But talking to somebody from a different state, it's so much easier to say Chicago than, Plainfield, which is 35 miles southwest.
That's like us. It's easier for us to say Calgary,
Even though we're not in
even though we're not in
yeah.
Calgary. We're only 20 minutes west. So
Yeah.
Even less than that.
You know, but back to the desert. It's funny because the desert calls, and when I haven't been in a while, I start to smell it. So this year in January, right away, oh, there it is. There's Arizona. I can smell it. And I have declared this is the year of not traveling by plane. I do not trust the aviation world right now.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on, but energetically is saying, okay, you're not traveling by plane. Fine, because I love the drive so much from Calgary to Phoenix. It is one of the most stunning drives. Every state you go into, even Idaho, it's so beautiful. It's crazy.
And I don't mind driving it.
oh. Yeah, it's interesting as I'm saying that, like, Phoenix did nothing for me. I'm like, but Egypt is all desert, and I have a connection there. So it'll be interesting if I ever make it there, how I feel.
I bet you it's a very different energy than Phoenix. I bet you it has like that ancient energy where there's layers that you can tap
Yeah.
into, because I have that Egypt pull as well. Also a little bit to Atlantis. And I did interact one time with a woman who is an Atlantean priestess. And she's like, okay, so you were there with me as a truth temple person. I'm like, that's cool. That would explain the Egypt pull a little bit too.
I think Flagstaff has some of that energy, doesn't it?
You know, I don't like Flagstaff because it's cold.
Okay.
You're talking Sedona?
Oh, sorry, Sedona, right? Sedona.
Sedona's phenomenal.
You know what? And everybody says that, but my experience of it, I was so overwhelmed because there's too many people there. I'm too sensitive for the amount of people that are like congregating.
What was wonderful, my trip, there were 8 of us, and one person in the party had arranged for a private tour guide who was going to take us to all the touristy spots. And he went out the night before and overdid it and slept through the day. So we had rental cars. So we just started driving around. It was wherever we were guided. And we went to spots that most people didn't go to. And we had phenomenal experiences.
See, that's what I need. I think that when I do Sedona again, it'll be with a private guide. I need somebody who knows the lay of the land because I get so overwhelmed when I'm not at home. The second I step out the front door, it's like I've lost my brain. So I need the guide a little bit, and I need to go where there's not a lot of people. So if there was a retreat center or, I'm not interested in the shops. I'm not buying crystals while I'm there. I just want to experience something.
Yeah, I had from the first hour there to the last hour leaving, something very spiritual, weird, magical happened throughout our 3-4 days there. So I had just started practicing Reiki, and somebody in our group fell into a cactus.
Oh my God.
So we're pulling out the needles, and I'm in the back seat of the car with her, the rental car. And, hey, Kim, can I give you some Reiki? She's like, sure. Everybody in the group had some experience with Reiki, so it wasn't like you're a weirdo. So I'm Reikiing her arm. And the next day, it was my very first time doing it as myself. I've been part of group Reiki and Reiki shares. This was the very first time I was practicing Reiki on somebody by myself. Next day in the Airbnb, I'm like, hey, Kim, how's your arm? And she looks down and she's like, there's nothing, not one mark. So that was an empowering thing and magical things. We were leaving town. So we did go shopping, and the room I had at the Airbnb had a pack and play in it. So we would go shopping. I would pick something up and throw it in the pack and play. You don't realize, out of sight, out of mind. And we go to leave. I need another bag. I don't have room for everything. And the woman driving is like, I just want to get to the airport. She was starting to get a little anxious, and I just want to get there. I'm not buying a bag at the airport. What am I going to do? Put this in a garbage bag? I'm like, can we just find a thrift store? I just want to find a $10 bag. I kept saying it. So we're leaving town. We left Sedona. Maybe it was Jasper. It was some outskirt of town. We're about to be in the desert. And all of a sudden the tire pressure light came on.
Oh.
And she missed 1 or 2 gas stations. She drove by and we start getting nervous. You better stop. You got to stop. So she stops. She pulls around the side of the gas station to the air pump. I look up, Goodwill right across the street.
Huh.
Walk in, turn to my left. There is a duffel bag, $10, $9.95.
There it is.
And everything that I had fit in there perfectly.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
So that was how Sedona was from start to finish. So many magical things happened like that.
So how long ago was that?
2018.
Okay.
Nice.
So do you have moments like that still where you're just so like spiritually aligned and just manifesting like this?
Yeah, the manifestation, yes, and the spiritual alignment. When I get out of my own way, like the last smudging I did, I went to somebody's house and I kept getting like a pull to the shadow box on the wall. And I know when I like start my day with my vision board and I look at everything that I have on it, and it completely changes my energy. I feel very calm and grounded, a little more confident and optimistic. So how do you feel when you look at this shadow box? And it was right outside the bathroom. Like they only had one bathroom and it was right there. She goes, "Oh, miserable. It's like all of our lost hopes and dreams are in that." I'm like, "Well, take this down."
It's not working.
So it's interesting. So I'm constantly getting downloads, regularly getting messages, my intuition, whatever you want to call it, all the time. My guides, intuition, all of the above is very, very loud. Do I always listen to it? No.
Well, I mean, there you go. That's the free will within this realm, right?
Right. Yes.
But for me, like so Ireland did that for me. I was very spiritually and energetically aligned and I felt close to my soul. Sometimes I feel like if I just close my eyes, I can actually go back and recognize that energy and almost realign myself with it. So we have these moments in our lives where it's, okay, we're in it, we know it's magic, but it doesn't, like, you drop an anchor there and then you get to go back and benefit from it again.
Well, and it's also like time-space continuum. Is this all realities happening at once? Like, can we just dip our toe in anywhere we want to be? Like, how far down the crazy road do you want to go?
As far as you can.
I don't think that we've had a trip like that in a long time where weird things have happened and we kind of just stumble along adventuring.
I don't know. I feel like I would argue that anytime we have a road trip, something kind of does happen like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that let's say if I went to Arizona this year, I would want to just stay in a house for a month, eat and read, and that would be my trip. I wouldn't want to go see anything or do anything.
And we don't usually. That's not our style. I need to have a home base when I travel because, like I said, I step out the door and my brain goes away. So if I have a home base, that means I can ground and then I'm safer to everybody and myself.
I think that's what I like about cruising. You have the security of your cabin in the ship. Even on the ship itself, I get overwhelmed and I just need to go to the cabin. But then you stop in a country, which can be overwhelming, but I know it's just the afternoon. I've got my cabin to go back to. So cruising is great that way. And that's also, again, why I want just a little villa in the Greek Isles, just to ground. And I do want to explore. I don't want to just stay inside. We went on a cruise in October. We took the kids and grandkids, and we spent 3 days in the Florida Keys before getting on the ship. I know I need some downtime before the craziness of the ship. And we had no agenda, nothing planned. And I've been in the Keys enough that I can get my way around. And we just kind of like wherever the wind took us is where we went. And we wound up at phenomenal restaurants or like it was again magical, like the timing. Like, why don't we go do this? And we would turn and be like, oh, look, this leaves in 10 minutes. Let's go hop on that tour, whatever it was. The divine timing happened a lot. I get that a lot when I travel.
Right. And I'm thinking it's because we kind of let everything else go. Now, if we could do that every day in our everyday life where we were not so distracted and not so held to routines and regimens, that we could be more divinely led and inspired.
The word is surrender, and I don't know how to do that.
It sounds like you do.
That's step one.
On vacation, yes. In the constraints of everyday life where I want to, to be my timing, my will. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
You know what? You should just have one day. Just choose one day for yourself where you wake up and you're like, I'm going to say I don't give a shit about anything today and see what happens.
I think that's called Sunday.
I found myself incredibly burnt out at the end of last year coming into this year. And it didn't matter what I did. I just couldn't feel rested. And a few weeks ago, I took an afternoon. It was a sunny day and we have a sunroom. And I sat on the couch with my dog and read a book. And that was the most relaxing thing. Just hitting pause, not caring about anything. I don't even know that I had my phone by me. It was just, I just need some time. And the sunshine, especially this time of year, it was phenomenal.
That's a
That's
prescription.
probably something you need to do more often then.
Yes. That's going to be my once a month. I get to read one like complete trashy novel a month.
And then you're going to make it 2 times a month and then once a week,
Once a week. And then every day.
right?
I need to get rid of the dog. He's like anti-relaxing.
No, please.
He's either coming in and out. I got to always open the door, or he wants me to
He
walk
has
him.
you trained well.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
I need a cat.
But my dog, when I'm gone, Bob says the dog sleeps all day long. And then as soon as I get home, she is like, wants to go out, wants to eat, wants this, wants attention. And then even when Bob's home, if I'm home, she's just up and about all day. She just wants to interact.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. You got this little shadow, and it's our job to entertain. And with you, I mean, he comes to see you when it's time to walk.
And even then, it's not like he is where he's jumping on you. He just sits and looks at me.
Guilt.
It's like, all right, no, you're right. It's time to walk. Let's go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my dog's not getting many walks these days. I am not bundling up for her.
It is so cold outside. And this is probably the first year ever where I'm just like, you know what? No.
Our dog doesn't care. It could be minus a million outside, and he's happy to go for a walk. He doesn't even wear a jacket or anything.
What breed?
He's half husky, so.
Oh, yeah, I had a husky.
Yeah.
He couldn't get him inside.
Right. If I give him a bone, he'll go lay in a snowbank and chew it for an hour, and then he'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'll come in."
My dog, the problem is her paws.
Right.
And then all of a sudden she freezes. Like she'll start, like her whole body. No, she freezes where we have to go pick her up and carry her in. She's 45 pounds.
My goodness.
Like something in her body, in her mind, when she gets so cold, she panics.
Oh, wow. You need a little suitcase holder on that harness. Boop, pick them up.
Right. Or little booties. We haven't found booties that she'll wear yet.
I won't put any kind of clothing on. And if he comes across somebody who is wearing clothing, he lunges at them like, this is so undignified.
He tries to strip other dogs of their clothing.
He knows it's wrong.
Yeah,
Right?
it's wrong. It's like Animal Farm. You're not a person. You're an animal. Yeah, no, he's funny. I want you to ask Heather the question.
Okay, so
Oh,
our guests always leave a question for the next guest.
okay.
So the question was, how do you protect your peace? Like emotionally, physically, what brings you back to homeostasis?
An appropriate question for Heather.
Yes.
Not getting involved in things that, if it's outside my control and I have no part of it, then I stay out.
Very similar to what she
If
was
somebody needs me as a sounding board, realizing I'm just a sounding board. And sometimes I'll like actually sing to myself or hum and not focus on the words they're saying. Like, okay, I'm just going to let them vent. Like, this is not out loud, but in my head, I'm like, they just need to vent. I'm just going to hold space for them, letting them vent. Like but
So
not
easy
taking it
call
on.
for where you lower your vibration to match theirs.
There are times I'll pick up the phone and somebody will start venting and I'll get in there right there with them. And then I hang up and I'm like, my God, I'm sent for the day because I just allowed them to bring me down. Or they did not bring me down. I lowered myself to have an exchange. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah, no, that's good to know your boundaries for sure.
It's easy to do. It's a trap.
No, they're locking up around here. So
Well,
Very-
I've asked the question, what would your question be for the next person?
something around authenticity.
Are your boobs authentic?
Or it's just a question, wondering who the next person is. More like, when do you feel you're being your truest self?
That's a fun question. I like that because that makes you kind of think about going back to when you were a kid or before the world, forced you into a mold.
Yeah.
Good question. Well, Heather, thanks so much for sitting down and talking to us.
Thank you. Always good seeing you. And I have to say, I want to add, I know I gave you this feedback when you first did the whole brand design, but I still remember coming out of my shell and still not really knowing how to explain myself and reading your write-up, feeling so heard. I cried. I felt so heard and understood. Like you truly got my message and what I was about. So, and my logo, I've had numerous logos and I love my logo so much.
I'm so glad. And thanks for that feedback. That means a lot.
Yeah.
I think that that's the whole thing is making that person feel like they were heard. And I think that's one of your superpowers.
Yeah, I'm going to actually think about that tonight a little bit because there's some shifting going on with what we're doing with ourselves. And that's an important thing to remember for me. So thanks for that.
That's my goal with my clients too. I think everybody just wants to be heard. It's not about jumping into problem solving. They like air your grievances.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're in my life, it's for a reason, right? It's a sacred interaction, and to remember that it's sacred, I think keeps the relationship in a higher vibration.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Well,
all right.
we're going to call that one a wrap. And if there's something that resonated with you, please like and share and subscribe and do all those things to help us.
And we'll have Heather's information down below in case anybody's interested.
Yeah.
Make sure my pretty logo is on there because it really is so beautiful.
Do.
Yes. And remember to own your genius. And we're going to catch you on the next episode.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Pear Genius Podcast. Real talk, real life, and a little bit of genius. We appreciate you spending your time with us, and we hope today's conversation sparks something meaningful for you. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep leveling up. Until next time, keep living your genius.